Well, hello there, and welcome to this episode of The Terri Cole Show. And I want to talk to you today about something that's been impacting my life, which is how to handle when someone you love is dying. I wonder, are you good at it? Have you ever experienced it? Do you know what to do? Are you afraid of it? Like, what is it for you? And then I'm going to be sharing a bunch of ideas and different people that I've interviewed on the show. And then I'm going to share a really personal story of something that I've just gone through in losing someone really important to me. And knowing that she was going to die really brought up my desire to get more fluent when it comes to death and dying and being able to talk about it. So, if you happen to be new here, my name is Terri Cole. I'm a licensed psychotherapist, relationship expert, the author of Boundary Boss, the Boundary Boss Workbook, this brand new, beautiful book right here, which is Too Much, a Guide to Breaking the Cycle of High-Functioning Codependency, which you can get at hfcbook.com. And all the bonuses are still there. And I want to also talk about something on this YouTube channel. So we love this channel, we love this community, but approximately 67% of you watching my videos are not subscribed, which I find kind of mind-blowing. So I know you're watching because of the comments, because of how active we are as a community, and it makes me know that the content is something that is life-changing, that people love it, and I love that so much. But the best way to support my work right here on YouTube, since it's free, is to subscribe. It's also the only way to get updates, right? When I drop new stuff, which I want you to not miss anything, because literally you're the people I create all of this content for. So please subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified when I roll out new stuff, which is every Tuesday and every Thursday. I mean, 2 free pods a week. One with me alone, as you know, which is like this one, and one where I've interviewed someone. A lot of times it's people that you've asked me to interview that I'm doing. So thank you so much for being here. Let's move it on into today's episode. All right, where to begin? Well, one of my friends, Linda Laundra is her name. She has been sick for a long time. She was sick for years. I've known her for 25 years, and she had a lot of health challenges throughout that time. But a year ago, it was a year ago, January, she was diagnosed with liver cancer, and that was major. And so treatment and being in studies and, trying to do all the things. And really, it didn't work. The study that she was in didn't work. And for me, the second that I knew that she was diagnosed with liver cancer, because one of my sisters actually had a liver transplant, which my friend was not eligible for because she wasn't well enough and she was older. She was 79. It started putting death and dying right at the front of my mind, which I've had my own experience with having cancer in my 30s. So it's not that, my father passed away when I was younger. It's not that death and dying was never on my mind. But this was really, really different because she was someone who I was so close to. We met when we were both teaching at NYU in the city, teaching acting and the business of the business. That's what I was teaching. And she was doing a documentary film about her family. And I didn't know her because we taught on different schedules. And she approached me and she was like, oh, hey, she introduced herself. And she and her husband, David, worked together. So I knew they were always like this little dyad that were walking around the studio together. And she said, hey, I'm doing this documentary film. I'm looking for a therapist to do sort of color commentary on the dynamics in the family. And I had only been a therapist for a short period of time at that time. So I said, oh, I'll definitely help you find the right person. And she was like, oh, no, you are the right person. And I was thinking, first of all, I never did anything on camera at that point in my life. And I was like, how would she think that I was the right person is my question. And I didn't feel like I knew enough to even do it. So I was like, yeah, okay, no. But she convinced me because she was a very persuasive person. If you knew her, you'd know what I mean. And so, the rest is history. That was 25 years ago, whatever it was. I was in that documentary film about her family. And then that was the beginning of this decades-long, beautiful friendship between not just Linda and I, but Linda and I and Vic and David as well, the four of us. They would come visit us upstate. I lived with them basically in New York City, probably 2 or 3 nights a week for years when I didn't have an apartment in New York and Vic and I were living upstate. Anyway, long story longer, my friend's sickness, and once we got to the point where it looked like there wasn't anything left to do, that there was no other option, and that she was going to, then hospice was beginning. I had been thinking about death and dying prior to that, but that really woke me up. So when Linda got diagnosed, I got in touch with hospice nurse Julie online, and I interviewed her on the show because she really is a beautiful expert on death and dying. And I'll put the links to all of this, you guys, in the show notes, because she is someone who really understands. And there's going to be a lot of resources for you in the guide. If you're in a situation right now, if you have someone that you love who's dying, I will have a bunch of resources, places that you can go, people that you can call to help you, because it can be overwhelming. It really can be overwhelming. So interviewing hospice nurse Julie really made me feel better. So I'm going to talk about her 5 tips and ideas today in this episode of things that we can do. And there was also a great article in the newest Psychology Today written by Megan Shen, PhD, with ideas about death and dying, things that you can do. And I also am going to talk about my friend Chris Carr's book, I'm Not a Mourning Person, Mourning, Mourning, about the death of her father. So I'm going to read a quick excerpt from Chris's book right now, and then we're going to get into hospice nurse Julie's tips. So this is from I'm Not a Mourning Person, from my friend Chris Carr, who I've been friends with for about 3.5 decades. So it says, only cry in the shower. No one will see you and you won't wreck your mascara. This bit of wisdom was given to me by a family friend when my father was dying. At the time, overwhelmed by emotion and desperately trying to maintain some semblance of control, I thought it was a brilliant tip. Not only did I attempt to follow this guideline, I also added a few of my own. Things like stuff yourself into the nearest closet and scream into a pillow, or any dense fabric that muffles agony. Dig your nails into your palms so the physical pain overrides your emotional distress. Think gruesome thoughts to distract yourself from your grueling feelings. These strategies worked for a while until my pent-up sorrow took on a life of its own, refusing to abide by my rules. I remember the exact moment the dam broke. My dad had just received news that his cancer was progressing and there was no more treatment options. Numb from the arresting prognosis, I walked through the aisles of my local drugstore, having offered to run an errand to pick up more Ensure, the only nourishment he could stomach. I stood frozen, staring at the chocolate-flavored protein drinks, incapable of deciding how many to buy. Will he live long enough for a case, or should I just stick to the 4-pack? That question hit me hard. An emotional tsunami was about to unleash itself on me and all the innocent shoppers in my immediate vicinity. Here comes my feelings, and no shower in sight. I blinked heavily through the checkout line, fighting back the deluge of tears that were mere seconds away until I could rush to the safety of my car and sob uncontrollably. Let me tell you, the parking lot at CVS is no shower stall. My once compartmentalized grief was now on full display. Hunched over my steering wheel in a teary puddle, I happened to notice an older woman, probably coming to fetch a prescription or buy toilet paper, glancing my way. She could plainly see what I'd been so desperate to hide. I was a full-blown mess. After the remains of my mascara finished streaming down my face, I felt a sense of relief similar to when medicine kicks in, giving you a break from a hallucinogenic fever. I'd somehow overlooked how cleansing it could be to let my feelings rip. After this happened a few more times, shout out to the Home Depot and their decision to pipe Michael Bolton's How Am I Supposed to Live Without You through their stereo system, I'd started to realize that these breaks helped me survive. They made me realize that the only way through my sadness was to allow the waves of big feelings to move through my body, something I'd been hell-bent on avoiding for fear I would drown. If embracing my intense emotions helped me feel even the slightest bit better, why had I been so determined to avoid them? And given how all-encompassing these hints of catharsis felt, I couldn't help but wonder, where else in my life have I been avoiding grief? Did that avoidance have anything to do with the strange existential angst that had been creeping up over me for the last few years, where I sensed that I was not, in fact, living as fully as I could be? The more I thought about it, the instinct to avoid grief made perfect sense to me. As well-meaning as my family friend's advice was, keep that mascara intact, honey, was not going to help me heed my soul's call to grow. For that, I would need to surrender to my grief and other big emotions. So that's an excerpt from Chris's book on the death of her father, Ken. It's a beautiful book. I will absolutely leave the link for you in the show notes. I felt incredibly identified with Chris's book and her experience of trying to avoid the tsunami of feelings that I was feeling while my friend was sick and dying. So what does hospice nurse Julie say? What are her thoughts on this? She's incredibly popular on YouTube, on TikTok. She's got 1.5 million followers all over the place. But, Julie believes that death education will help alleviate fear and believes death is not a bad word, right? The more we know about it, the more we're prepared for it. The better we live, the more peaceful we die, she said. So basically, it's preparing ourselves just like anything else, right? And how much better it is when we do that. So for her, helping others understand the dying process before we're going through it, that is her life's passion. That's what she was saying on the show. That's what she says on social media. So she spent many, many years as an ICU and hospice nurse where she faced death nearly daily and seen how she really witnessed how critical it was for families to discuss these topics sooner rather than later. And for me, getting educated through Chris's book and through hospice nurse Julie before my friend Linda died on January 17th, 2025, it helped me so much. And so there's also other places where you can go, and I'm going to give you links in the guide for information about end-of-life conversations that you can have. So this is what hospice nurse Julie has to say. So set the stage, right? Don't just bring it up, right, as you're out and about somewhere eating something. If it's possible, set the stage to basically have the conversation, like make a plan. You're going to be proactive because part of why we want to have the death and dying conversation is we want to honor our loved ones' desires, like what they want to happen. We want those things to happen. So you're going to set the stage. You're going to ask for help, right? Frame the conversation as being helpful for you. For example, you can say, hey, can you help Mom? Can you help me with something? I know you're okay right now, but in the future, if something were to happen, I'd like to get plans in place, right? These plans will make it easier for me to know how to best care for you. Because again, we really want our loved ones to, especially when they become less and less able to do it for themselves, to be able to have some semblance of control in the death and dying process. My mother, who is 88, many of you know, she had cancer during the pandemic. She stayed with Vic and I for a while after the draconian, her treatment was just insanely brutal. Like, I didn't even know that medicine could look that torturous and sadistic. But anyway, she survived, but she was super clear. And we were lucky because I felt like my mother was the one who brought it up. I wanted to avoid it. This was long before hospice nurse Julie and Chris Carr's information. And I just was like, I was like a baby when it came to talking about my mother dying, where I just was like, well, that's never going to happen. So, and this is me as a grown-up. I just couldn't even, I just couldn't even think about it. I don't want to think about it even now. And she's 88. Well, she'll be 88 in October. Anyway, she was very clear about what she wanted. Everything is in order for my mother. Her house is fully paid off. She wants a celebration of life. She wants to be cremated. She knows. For her, this extends her love for us to not leave us with ambivalence and not knowing what to do, which I appreciate that. And I think that, hospice nurse Julie talks about the fact that we can make and share our own plan. Right? So if we want others to plan, we have to start with ourselves. Even if you're nowhere near death, right? A great way to start the conversation is sharing your plan and what's important to you, right? There's lots of decisions to make when people are unwell. And with my friend Linda, the longer it went on and the sicker she became, you look at death differently. At least I did. And I can't say how her husband did, even though we were talking, because I can't imagine that I'll ever be ready for Vic to die, being so close. And part of what we always had in common with these friends is that we both were in really good long-term marriages with like deep friendships as part of the marriage process. So for me, Linda dying also hit close to home. Not that it was about me, but it hit close to home in me witnessing David losing his best friend, and they were married 57 years. So that's a long time. They were quite a bit older. They are quite a bit older than Vic and I. So, all right, number 3, make and share your own plan is where we were. And then number 4, right? You could bring in experts. If there is confusion, if you have someone who has a complicated estate or owns a bunch of things, and, you can bring in like estate planners and funeral advisors if you're not sure what to do. There are a lot of people who are really ready to help, even if you don't think that you have an estate. You do, right? Because you still have decisions to make about your things. And again, we don't want to leave those decisions to the other people in our lives because they're going to be grieving. The most loving thing we can do when it comes up to end of life is have a plan, have the conversation long before you need to have the conversation. There's that. And then if someone is, in the process of dying, we have to listen and be respectful, right? That's number 5. Once the conversation is started, right, there's a bunch of things to talk about. Funeral home planning, if you're doing that, advanced directives, right? Obituary writing, right? But your job is to really listen to the other person and respect what it is that they want. And these conversations can be hard and can be messy, right? You're not going to do them perfectly, and that's perfectly okay. According to Julie, and I believe this, just starting the conversation, right? You're letting your loved one know that you're open for the conversation when they are. Another thing that really helped me when I interviewed Julie on the show, and again, that will be in the show notes, is her talking about the divine intelligence of your body and the death process. Have an idea, believe that your body knows what it's doing. And I think that it's scary. This other therapist that I was talking about, Megan Shen is her name, Shen, PhD, says those who are dying are immersed in their own world, guided by the archaic intelligence of death. The best thing you can do is respect their journey. And this is very similar to what Julie said on the show, where she was saying a lot of times if you haven't gotten educated about death and dying and about how the body dies, which she talks all about in her book. Her book is called Nothing to Fear, I believe. And again, we'll have links to it in the show notes, where the body knows what it's doing. And so what can we do for ourselves quickly before we get to the end of this episode is you're taking care of the other person, you're considering the other person, but you also want to receive support yourself, ask for help where you need it, bring in other people, take care of yourself to the best of your ability, especially if you are a primary caregiver, even a secondary caregiver. It can be such an emotionally heavy load. Like for me, I was stuck between as Linda was dying, I was stuck between all I wanted to do is support her husband and her other close friend, and I wanted to be there, but I also was dealing with my own pain about not wanting to lose her and the friendship. I felt selfish, being like, this isn't about me. She'd been married to her husband for 57 years. This is about him, and this is about their other friends that have been, 4 decades long friendship. I mean, even though she and I were friends for 25 years, it still felt like it couldn't be about me, but it had to be about me too when it comes to me. Right? I don't need to make her husband think about me, but I certainly made my husband think about me in my grief, which I'm still experiencing and I'm still dealing with. And I think that I've also accepted in my life that the nature of grief is, it's like waves, right? So it really is not a linear process. Something will happen that will remind me, or I'll think of something that I need to tell her. And then it'll just slam into me like a truck that I can't tell her because I can't call her because she's transitioned. And I look at it like transitioning, and I believe that there's something else. And listen, that's a whole other, I should do a whole other episode on that because we're all different into what our beliefs are. But I want to hear from you. What is your relationship to death and dying? Have you had these experiences? Have you processed them properly? Or are you right now caring for someone who's dying? Did this episode help you? And in the guide, there will be resources for you. So to get that, go to terricole.com/guide. And another thing I want to just throw out there, that being in community is something that helped me so much during my mother's cancer, when my niece passed away 7 years ago, tragically, when my friend died, all of this, I get so much support from my community because it's a beautiful place. We meet every week to just deal with what is going on like, what are we all going through? What is going on for everyone? And you can join my community at terricole.com/TCM for Terri Cole membership, and I would absolutely love to have you. So let me know your thoughts about this episode of The Terri Cole Show. Don't forget to get the guide, and I invite you to join the Terri Cole community. It's Terri Cole membership, terricole.com/TCM. I hope you guys have the most amazing week, and as always, take care of you.